Hello, Puma scholars and parents. I thought I'd share a second inquiry project with you that's exemplar. And today I will show you this scholar's particular project. Uh, Again, with their weeks of inquiry, they are looking at week 1, where they come up with possible ideas. This scholar came up with a bunch of different possible ideas, and they wrote why they chose those ideas. And then on day 2, coming up with the final question, what did they decide was their final question that they want to learn more about? This particular student chose what challenges do people face with no arms? And then things that they already know and would like to know about their topic. And then into days 3 and 4, they come up with the websites and other kinds of sources that they're going to be using. This student used videos, websites. Again, just as a reminder, a video is perfectly fine, but we do ask that it's not all 5 websites. So the scholar used 4 websites in a video, which is fine. And then moving on to week 2, this particular scholar wrote their subtopic is how people with no arms do things. I'm not sure what that says. How people with no arms, adjust. And then some things that they got from their sources, some notes. So how do they adjust to having no arms? So there were some videos they watched, some websites that they used. Again, you can write website 1, website 2, or you can put the URL there. Either is acceptable. There's subtopic 2, how do people with no arms use objects? So they got some notes on that as well from some videos and some websites. And then last one was how do people with no arms do archery? This one was a very interesting project, and they have a picture of it in their final slideshow. So again, in this particular week, they are asked to come up with their sources. And I said, you have a lot of information here, and I think you can do more than one paragraph. The scholar did end up changing from one paragraph to multiple paragraphs later as they were going through the process. Then week 3, they begin writing their rough draft. They start with their hook or their introductory sentence and practicing different types of hooks. And then this scholar also wrote in Google Docs. So they printed it up for me during the week, and I was able to see that and grade that. Then finally, week 4, their final revisions are they're going through the checklist and making sure that everything's been checked off. They're circling the words that they used for their transition words. This particular student used also and for example. Then did all the checks on the checkoff sheet. If it doesn't apply, they put not applicable, so there's no apostrophes in their writing or quotation marks. And then for their final draft, again, the same student just went back to their original introductory paragraph, and they ended up revising it and changing it into multi-paragraphs later, but it was all printed for me, so they didn't have to write anything on these particular pages. And again, I asked at the end, please circle the grade you think you should receive for the writing rubric based on the rubric, and they were able to do that. They thought they had a 4. And then I have extra pages here. Week 5, they did their project presentation, and they decided that they wanted to do a slideshow. And again, they're showing what they did for their final project, what steps they're going to take, what resources they need to have, what they did for that particular week, what they're going to be doing the next week, and how does it still relate to the central idea. And again, this scholar went back and talked about the challenges that people with no arms face. So they went back and talked about the central idea again, and they connected it. Then moving on to week 6, putting the final touches onto their project, what they do that particular week, how does it still relate to the central idea? Again, they talked about the challenges that people face, and that was the end of week 6. And then for their final presentation, again, I asked them what do they think they deserve based on the rubric for their presentation. This particular student did a slideshow. I'll show an example of that in a second. And this was the scholar's first original draft, their first draft. And that note that I wrote to them about trying to challenge themselves, they originally just had one paragraph. And then I said, well, you have a lot of information here. Do you think you can challenge yourself? So they went back during their revision part, and they were able to add a lot more information to what they had based on their notes. So this particular student went ahead and did multi-paragraphs based on their different subtopics. So what challenges do they face? How do they adapt? How do they use objects? So they took the time, and then I accidentally did a couple pages in between, but how do they do archery and their final conclusion? So they went back and they challenged themselves to do that. And I have an example of this particular scholar's slideshow. They went through with the slideshow. I took their name out, and then they had different pictures, and they went through different things. Since their research was about archery, they put archery and how people with no arms can do archery, all different kinds of slides to back up their original central idea. So this is one more example of different things that scholars can do as an exemplar homework. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Thank you for your time.